For an overview of photosynthesis, we have to understand that it's a cellular process that converts water and carbon dioxide into glucose and oxygen using light. Okay, so here's the definition, a little more information. There's other organisms other than plants that undergo photosynthesis, like blue-green algae, phytoplankton, and some other bacteria. They can also photosynthesize by changing chemical energy using light into food energy. Okay, so first of all, we need the prerequisite knowledge. We need to understand what the parts of the plant does. We need to understand that the roots are for the uptake of water. So water goes in up through the roots and travels up through the stem into the leaves and the flower. We need water in all of our plant cells because don't forget the vacuole stores the water. The stem is for support. It's sort of like your skeleton. It keeps the plant upright. The leaf, this is the food factory. This is where the food is made. And if you look at the structure of the leaf, it's laid out in the proper way so that it has the maximum surface area facing the sun, so that the sun's energy can be captured much easier. This is why leaves are sort of wide and face out like that. The seeds, those are the parts that are as a result of a fertilized flower. So the seeds, that's the offspring, which will fall down and eventually germinate and make a new plant. And the flower is the reproductive part of the plant. So we're going to be focusing on the leaf. We're going to look at a couple of different diagrams. So here's a cross-section of a leaf. It's pretty complex in there if you think about all of the cells that are associated with a leaf. A couple of things that we need to understand is that on the underside of the leaf, there's these holes that allow for gases to come in. So carbon dioxide can actually enter the leaf through the bottom side of the leaf. And the little holes are called stomata. And you have to understand that stomata, they actually open and close depending on the need for carbon dioxide. So during the process where they want carbon dioxide to come in, they'll be open. And there's these cells around the stomata called the guard cells. Those are the ones that sort of open and close and allow the gas exchange. We can also have carbon dioxide or oxygen come out through those. We can also have transpiration coming out, so we can have water vapor coming out through those. And if you remember, in the water cycle, transpiration contributes to the vapor in the atmosphere. We also have quite a few tissues. If you look, these are both very, very important tissues, the xylem and the phloem. The xylem is actually the tissue that carries the water throughout the plant. And the way I remember xylem is water, W-X-Y. The water is carried through the xylem. So the xylem carries water, and the phloem carries food. Phloem, F, food. And that's something that you're going to need to understand. So those two tissues, what they're for. And these are running throughout the plant. So it's like your blood vessels running throughout the plant. Okay, so let's take a look at the next picture that we're going to view. This is a little bit more simplified, and this shows you the plant cell. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the components of the plant cell. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the chloroplast. And if you look, there's lots of chloroplasts in a plant cell because a plant cell is for production of food. So tons and tons of chloroplasts. And there's the large vacuole and the nucleus. There are also other organelles in there, but we're going to be focused solely on the chloroplast. And because the chloroplast is the location of photosynthesis. So this is what happens. We get carbon dioxide, which enters the plant through the underside of the leaf. We get water, which enters the plant through the roots and goes up to the leaves, carried through the xylem. And then we get light energy, which is absorbed by a pigment in the chloroplast called chlorophyll. And chlorophyll actually absorbs that light, and it makes food in the form of carbohydrates and oxygen. And oxygen leaves the plant through those stomata. Or it can be carried throughout the plant, because plants also need oxygen for certain activities. So this is what we have to understand, okay? So if we look at the chemical formula, carbon dioxide and water are put in, and using light energy, the light energy actually converts those two to sugar and oxygen. And chlorophyll actually is the energy that's needed to take carbon dioxide and water and chop it up into its component parts, but it can be put back together as glucose and oxygen. Because if you notice, all we see is carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens, and they're in equal amounts, because here's the balanced equation. So you need 6 carbon dioxide molecules and 6 water molecules. And the chlorophyll absorbs energy, so it's like this little guy named Phil, and the energy goes, let's just say it goes into his sword, the energy from the sun, and then he can take his sword and he can chop these carbon dioxides and waters into all these hydrogens, carbons, oxygens. So he chops them all up, so he's got a whole bunch of elements, and then the plant puts them back together, so in the form of sugar and oxygen. So that's pretty much photosynthesis simplified.